Hi all, welcome to this Nations concept idea. It's not really a concept, it was initially in FIFA 18. It was a great idea where you were able to complete various nations to get a card, and then when you completed the group you were given like a juiced up version. It was Kagawa, Vidal, Ndidi and Rashford, and it was a really fun idea, so I thought let's expand on it and bring it back into FIFA 21. So you can smash like, so much appreciate folks. Sub to the channel if you're new. Follow me on Twitter at GZLegend. All links are down below for posting the channel and social media links as always. And check out Boost's Twitter. He's helped me piece some of the graphics as well for this. So go and show him some love, folks. Give him some follows. Honestly, he's a great person in the community and deserves a lot much more in the community. So our way of this, and this is much more expansive than the initial version. And basically there is 142 nations that can get a card, and I am being serious with this. Basically every nation, so like for Europe has, for example, 54 nations. So for the 54 nations they all get a card. Now depending on the size of the nation, but also the size of like how many players are in each nation, you can get up to 3 SBC players, and this is repeatable. So you would get 3 players for that nation, and as you work through them all, like every nation where possible that gets one has one player. So even if they've only got one player in the game, they will get a SBC card. Once you've completed every single player, there will be a player pick, and there will be 5 players in total for the player pick. Now in the case of say Europe and Africa especially, it's maybe a bit harsh that it's only 5, because there is so many good players, especially between both columns, that you could easily expand it to say 10 or 15. Now basically from there, once you've completed the group, you can, the aim of this is repeatable as well, folks. So basically if say for one nation in particular, so say the example of Germany, we'll say the 3 players that you've got the choice of, say you've got the 3, and say the group SBC player just happens to be from Germany as well. So the 4 players that you've got you can obtain, and all you're submitting is the nation. Where applicable, you will submit the nation like 11 players, or sometimes 7 depending on how many players of that nation, so that way that you don't get too much price fixing. But where nations cannot build a full team, you will either be given a bronze team to build, or a silver team, or whatever, or maybe even a gold, depending on what the rating is. But it's usually going to be a bronze or silver, because usually the bigger nations will be able to get away with a gold squad near enough most of the time. But it's similar format, it's just much more expansive. That's all it is. This is like, for me, sometimes I would love to play with some of these like obscure nations, and sometimes as well some of the obscure nations have half decent players. They just get a run out because we say, oh, this guy's great but I can't use him because he doesn't fit my team for whatever reason, or he's in an off league, and trying to link them up silly. This is what you would find. So basically the gold cards will usually get roughly say it's between 1 and 2 informed boosts for each card for SBCs if they're a gold. If they're silver, they will be going to 74 rated, and then if they're a bronze card, they will be either 64 or 74. But I would assume would get them 64, but give them boost up stats to roughly around this, like what would equate to probably like an 80 rated card anyway. But here's like in some of the small nations parts, for example, like New Caledonia for example. Now people will be like, New Caledonia, gee, why would I care about New Caledonia? Now I'm just using this as an example. New Caledonia only have 1 player in the form of Lutoa. Now Oceania as a whole only has 3 nations that you can do, which is Australia, New Caledonia and New Zealand. Now because you can get ample for Australia and New Zealand, what we've decided to do is to make this a bit more interesting for say New Caledonia, is Lutoa gets a boosted card to 74 for completing his individual route, but when you complete the group, you'll be given a boosted version that will equate roughly to the same as the other players from that group. So we used Mui, McLaren, Chris Wood and Winston Reid as examples. So Lotoa might go from being a 74 initially to then suddenly his boosted card, which is the premium one, which could be like 84 or 85. And because he plays in League One, he's someone that you can link up to Kimpembe, Marquinhos, Mbappe, etc. Yes, he's not French, but he would be suddenly a little bit more usable. And this is kind of what the premise is for, luckily in that sense. But it's to also give some of the players that you might be a fan of that country to be like, oh, I want that card. And this is kind of, and some of them are even, some of these players as well will actually be throwbacks as well. Because when you go through some of these players, when you go through like Peru for example, I choose Advincula. If you remember him back in the day, he had some fun cards. Chile was Vargas. I've even gave Choupo-Moting, funnily enough, like a special. And like some players that maybe you not necessarily think would be given a boost are getting just a bit of a fun upgrade just so that you can try them out. And you can pace yourself accordingly, but the premise is to fundamentally give every single card a use eventually. So the SBC cards that you would get, there might end up being objectives tying into it, or there'd be other SBCs later down the line that you can use these cards in. I know for how many players that you're getting is quite considerable. I am fully aware of that, and people will be like, oh gee, EA are never going to do this, there's no danger. Yes, they may have done a very simple version, FIFA 18. Your version is just way overkill. Like, I'm fully aware of that. I'm just coming up with the concept to at least say, look, we've had it before, why can't they do it again? And because there's everyone would like, there's people who probably would want like their own nation, like if they've got their own national team and say, oh, I want that player, even if it's one player from the nation that's in the game, and you can say, oh, I've suddenly got the best version of that card, you'd be delighted. That's sometimes all you need. And that's what, if I'm honest, sometimes EA forget, is like, you've got such a global market for a game, why not just let people enjoy players from this, like their own nations? It gives you a bit of fun. And even the content creators, think of the amount of, like, right away, there's probably the amount of players right away, you'd be able to suddenly do player reviews of these cards as well. The SBC content people would be able to say, here's how you do Europe, here's how you do Africa, here's how you do Asia, here's how you do North America, here's how you do South America, here's how you do Oceania. And you'd suddenly be sorted. You'd literally be able, you'd get people doing the full guide, you'd get those that would do the country guides, you'd get them doing the continent guides. There's people who would be able to churn out so much different content from this, and it would honestly just be so satisfying. It just gives bronzes a use, it gives silvers a use, it gives golds a use. Yes, people will say, but then it hammers the top end stuff, but you've got to kind of give it every little which way as well. Like, you don't know until you try. That is pretty much my mantra with the game. Like, there's so much you can do with the nations, and you can make it not like just repeatable, but say if you did put an expiry on it, you would maybe then change, say, the group SBC players, you'd maybe change some of the SBC players. But if you were to keep it as a one time only, you could sometimes also consider the doing it by continent. So you might start off doing Oceania because it's 3 nations, and say South America, for example, or whatever. You might drop 2 continents right away, so that way that rest, like, you've got Oceania covered and you've got South America sorted. And then you can then drop, say, North America, say a few weeks later, then you drop Africa or North America, then Asia, then Africa, then Europe. You can structure it how you wish. When they did it in FIFA 18, we got all the continents at once, and honestly, it was brilliant. I think I was done like a night. I'd been done. It was brilliant. I was like, here we go. Here's like field day. And I was like, and suddenly you had all these cards. It was brilliant. But obviously, some people will be like, oh, this won't work and all that. Like, it worked. But as I said, if you break it down, the small nations is like a bronze or silver squad. The nations where a full team can be built, but not where it's like, say, 15 players. If it's 15 or 18 players, you'd maybe only take, say, 4 from the nation and still have a rated squad. And as I said, for the nations where there's lots, like England for example, you can make it a half decent rated squad. But as I said, everything's kind of explained, as I said, step by step through all the graphics as well, and I hope it all kind of makes sense. But as I say, it's up for debate, it's up for discussion for everyone to kind of say, right, could we actually see this again? Would you want it? And if so, what improvements do we make it free players for, say, like a player pick for the big nations, or do you just make it one player for SBCs and then say a group player pick for, say, 5 players? It completely comes up to your debate. Well, I've only made it free because I thought I might as well give some of these individual nations a bit more juice, as it were, because some of them play in different leagues, so you can suddenly build up a best possible and all these type of things, and it just creates so many options. That's the way I was looking at it. But as I said, let me know in the comments down below, folks. Would you want a complete nations, like, it's like if you want it in a simple sense, it's almost like doing like a sticker album, like the Panini stuff, complete Azerbaijan or Albania or Algeria, and get yourself this player, and that's basically all it's basically like. That's all we're trying to, and it's almost like what you feel at times feels like. But I suppose it'll appeal to some, it'll appeal to other elements, will appeal to some won't, and so forth. But I'll not leave you for too much longer on it, folks. Hopefully you find it all useful. As I said, comment down below your thoughts on it. Smash like as always, sub to the channel if you're new. As I said, I've explained on Twitter as well, just showing the graphics as well, just to kind of get a discussion on Twitter as well. So check me out at G is Legend. Take it easy all, thanks for watching, and I will catch you all later.